So good day everyone, especially to you Ma'am Edna. I am Noemi U. William Moore. I am a BS Ed student, major in values education, and I am your student from World Literature 2. Time schedule is 2:30 to 4 p.m. So I will be discussing to you about the Russian literature and the short story of Leo Tolstoy, which is the God sees the truth but waits. So first is I will be discussing to you first the Russian literature. So let me read first the history of Russian literature. So the history of Russian literature is divided into several periods which can be lengthy or quite short. Before the adoption of Christianity, first by Princess Olga in 957, and then by the great Prince Vladimir in 988, there was no written language in Russia. If necessary, Greek, Latin, or Jewish language were used for written communication. Literary works like fairy tales, songs, and epics were preserved and passed from generation to generation as monuments of oral history. So now let's dig into the old Russian literature in 19th and 17th century. So this century, it refers to the literary work produced in Russia from the 10th to 17th century. During the era of Kievan Rus and the subsequent Muscovite period, this era was deeply rooted in religious traditions and oral folklore, reflecting the spiritual and cultural life of early Russian society. So, the adaptation of Christianity in 988 heavily influenced Old Russian literature, introducing text written in Old Church Slavonic. So the earliest work were religious in nature, such as sermons, hagiographies, or lives of saints, the moral instructions. So noble examples include the primary chronicle, 12th century, a historical record of Kievan Rus, the tale of Igor's campaign in 12th century, an epic poem that blends historical events with legendary elements. So literary forms during this time were mostly didactic, aiming to educate and moralize. Secular themes were rare but began to emerge in chronicle and epics, often glorifying heroic deeds or recounting historical events. The style was ornate and heavily influenced by Byzantine models, which focus on allegory and symbolism. So by the 17th century, Old Russian literature started to decline. A Western influence grew, paving the way for modern Russian literature. However, its legacy remains significant as it lays the foundation for the rich literary tradition that would follow. So next we go to Russian Enlightenment literature, the 18th century. So, this means that marked a transformative period when Russia embraced European intellectual, cultural and literary trends under the reign of Peter the Great and Catherine the Great. Westernization shaped literature, promoting reason, science, and education as tools for societal progress. This era sought to modernize Russian society and critique outdated traditions, blending Enlightenment the ideals with Russian cultural identity. So, prominent figures included Mikhail Lomonosov, who advanced the Russian literary language and wrote works emphasizing science and patriotism, and Denis von Wiesen, whose satirical comedies such as the Minor, so critique aristocratic ignorance. Catherine the Great herself contributed plays and writing promoting Enlightenment values. So themes of reason, individual dignity, the social reform the dominated and literary forms like satire, poetry, and prose gained prominence. This period laid the foundation for Russia's later literacy golden age by fostering a national literary identity while integrating European influence. So next is the golden age of Russian literature or 19th century. So it was a period of unparalleled literary achievement characterized by profound explorations of human nature, morality, and society. It began with Alexander Pushkin, the father of modern Russian literature, whose works like Eugene Onegin set the foundation for modern prose and poetry. So other key figures included Nikolai Gogol, who used satire to expose social flaws or dead souls. Fyodor Dostoevsky, who delved into morality and psychology, the crime and punishment, the brothers Karamazov, the Leo Tolstoy, rather. So known for epic novels like War and Peace and Anna Karenina that explore human experiences and history. And then Anton Chekhov revolutionized short stories and dramas with his subtle, character-driven works like The Cherry Orchard. So this era marked by romanticism and realism tackled themes such as morality, spirituality, love, and social critique, making Russian literature a cornerstone of global culture. So next is we will be going to discuss the Silver Age of Russian literature, late 19th and early 20th century. It was a period of artistic innovation and poetic experimentation characterized by flourishing of symbolism, modernism, and mysticism. This era flowed the golden age and was marked by a response to social, political, and cultural changes in Russia. So the key figure of the Silver Age include Anna Akhmatova, known for her deeply personal and lyrical poetry, often reflecting themes of loss and money. The Boris Pasternak, whose work like Dr. V. Zivago combined romanticism with a critical view of Russian society. And then Vladimir Mayakovsky has a leading figure in Russia, futurism using bold, dynamic language to address social and political issues. And then this period was also influenced by the symbolism movement, which emphasized the power of symbols and imagination. So writers like Andrei Bely and Vladimir Khmelnikov explored new poetic forms and philosophical ideas. The Silver Ages literary output reflect a sense of existential uncertainty, as well as a desire to break away from traditional literary norms, ultimately influencing the development of Russian and world literature. So next we will be going to tackle about the Soviet and Russian literature. So Soviet and Russian literature span from the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution to the present. Soviet literature shaped by Marxist ideals was initially revolutionary but became heavily controlled, with writers required to adhere to socialist realism. Prominent figures like Maxim Gorky, Mikhail Sholokhov, and Boris Pasternak navigated political constraints, while dissenting voices like Isaac Babel and Andrei Platonov faced persecution after Stalin. During Glasnost, literature became more open, with writers like Alexander Solzhenitsyn and Svetlana Alexievich critiquing the Soviet system. Post-Soviet literature, marked by greater freedom, explores themes of identity and historical trauma, with authors like Viktor Pelevin and Lyudmila Oletskaya leading the way. So it's very hard to pronounce their names, so I'm sorry for the mispronounced by the authors' names. Let's proceed to the contemporary Russian literature, or contemporary post-Soviet. So contemporary Russian literature emerging after the Soviet Union's fall in 1991 explores themes like identity, historical traumas, and societal change. So prominent authors include Viktor Pelevin, Lyudmila Ulitskaya, Svetlana Alexievich, and Vladimir Sorokin, who addressed post-Soviet disorientation, personal struggles, and political issues through diverse styles including satire and dystopian fiction. This literature reflects Russian complex past and current challenges. So now let's proceed to the Russian literature and interactive timeline. So as you can see on the screen, there are timeline that I made. So the early Russian literature, the 10th, 17th literature, which are 988 AD, Christiani, wait, Christianization of Kievan, Kievan Rus, and the introduction of Old Church, Slavonic, 12th century, the tale of Igor's campaign, an epic poem, blending history and legend, 13th, 13th to 15th century, religious texts, chronicles, and hagiographies dominate. And then we have here the 18th century, which is Enlightenment and Westernization. So we have here the 70s, Peter the Great's reform brings Western literary styles to Russia. We have here Mikhail Lomonosov, 1711 to 1765, a pioneer of Russian scientific and literary language. And lastly is we have Denis von Wiesen, 1744 to 1792, which is satirical plays critiquing Russian society or the mirror. And we have here the 19th century, the golden age of Russian literature. We have here 1820s to 1830s. Alexander Pushkin, the father of modern Russian literature, writes Eugene Onegin. We have here 1940s to 1860s. Fyodor Dostoevsky, Leo Tolstoy, and Nikolai Gogol explore existential and societal themes. We have here late 18th, Anton Chekhov revolutionized the short story and modern dramas. So we have here the early 20th. So early 20th century, the Silver Age. We have here 1890s to 1920s. The rise of symbolism, futurism, and early modernism. Anna Akhmatova, 1889 to 1966, poetic exploration of love, loss, and history. We have here Boris Pasternak, 1890 to 1960. We have Dr. What is how to pronounce? Dr. Zhivago, blending romance with criticism of Soviet life. And lastly, we have Vladimir Mayakovsky, 1893 to 1930, a futurist poet and playwright challenging traditional forms. So now we have here the Soviet literature, 1917 to 1991, 1920s to 1930s, socialist realism become the dominant literary style. Maxim Gorky, 1968 to 1936, early proponent of socialist realism. Mother, 1930s to 1950s, Mikhail Sholokhov and Quiet Flows the Dawn, and Boris Pasternak, Dr. Zhivago, struggle with censorship. And lastly, we have 1960s to 1970s, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich exposes Soviet labor camps. And lastly, we have post-Soviet literature 1991 present. Until present, rather, 1990s authors explored the collapse of the Soviet Union and new Russian identities. Victor Pellerin 1962 present until present. Generation P critiques post-Soviet consumerism. Lloyd Mila Olitskaya 1943 until present. Works like The Big Green Tent explore Jewish identity and traumas. Uh, Svetlana Alexievich 1948 until present, Nobel laureate with Voices from Chernobyl, capturing human experiences through oral history. And lastly, we have Vladimir Sorokin 1955 until present, dystopian work like Day of the Oprechnik reflect on the totalitarianism in contemporary Russia. So that's all for the Russian literature. So now let's proceed to the story of God Sees the Truth But Waits by Leo Tolstoy. So who was Leo Tolstoy? So Leo Tolstoy, his real name is Count Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy, popular known as Leo Tolstoy. He was born in the Tula province of Russia in September of 1828. Tolstoy was a great Russian writer who wrote novels and short stories. His work was centered around realistic fiction, and he is still considered one of the greatest novelists of all time. So, the birth and early years of Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy was born into a noble and well-known Russian family. He was the fourth youngest kid amongst five children in the family. Leo's mother died when he was a very young age, and after his father also passed away after some time. So Tolstoy and his siblings were raised by relatives. Tolstoy began studying law in 1844, along with Oriental languages. However, Tolstoy could never develop great interest in his study and therefore left them in between. So Tolstoy was initially considered an uninterested student. After leaving a university, he struggled with debt from gambling, prompting him to join the army. It was during this time he began writing his trips to Europe in 1857, and 1860 deeply influenced his literary and political views, which with Victor Hugo serving as a major inspiration for his work and writing styles. So Tolstoy was initially considered, let's proceed to the Tolstoy's personal life. So in 1962, Tolstoy got married to Sofia Andreevna Bird, who was 16 years younger than him. Sophia was a Kurt physician's daughter. The two went on to have a big family, with both having 13 child between 1863 and 1888. So the marriage from the beginning was driven by sexual passion and lack of emotional sensitivity. Then, despite Tolstoy disclosing his extensive premarital sexual past with Sophia, the early part of their marriage is believed to be very happy, and Sophia helped Leo in writing novels and even acted as a proft reader and financial manager. However, it is believed that their relationship turned sour later on due to Tolstoy beliefs turning extremely radical with the times. So that is Tolstoy's personal life with Sophia. So she got married to Sophia, and Sophia helped Leo to write a novels. Yes. And now let's proceed to Tolstoy. She began to write at the age of 24. So these are his works. Let's first go to his work. So his work are Childhood, War and Peace, Anna Karenina, Two, Two Hussars, The Cossacks, Master and Man, Father Sergus, and Haji Murad. So these are the fiction fiction work of Tolstoy. So now let's proceed to his non-fiction works. So his non-fiction work are The Kingdom of God is Within You, What I Believe, What is Art, The Gospel of Belief, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, What is to be Done, and The God Sees the Truth But Waits. So, Tolstoy's later years, despite his fame and wealth, so Tolstoy's become dissatisfied with his life and embarrassed asceticism, focusing on non-violence and the Sermon on the Mount. His book, The Kingdom of God is Within You, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, leading to the friendship through their corresponds on nonviolent resistance. Tolstoy died in 1910 at the age of 82 from pneumonia after attempting to escape his strained relationship with his wife. So, I cannot believe that Tolstoy have a pneumonia and attempting to escape, because who knows that having a partner that help you out, diba? Because Sophia help Leo to make a novel, but at the end of the day, Leo was attempting to escape his strained relationship with his wife. So that's it. That's all for the history, or the author's point of view. So this story, In God Sees the Truth But Waits, by Leo Tolstoy, and the story focuses on the theme of moral, patience, and the ultimate trump of good over evil. So the plot revolves around the inner conflict of a man faced with an injustice or wrongdoing. Initially, he desires to act immediately to correct the wrong, driven by anger or a sense of righteousness. However, he ultimately realizes that while good may be slow to act or delayed, it is more powerful and lasting when it comes at the right moment. So Tolstoy uses the story to convey a broader moral lesson that good, while it may seem passive or slow, has an enduring strength. It contrasts with the immediate impulsive actions driven by anger or a desire of figwants. The story suggests that reacting hastily to wrongs can often lead to harm, but waiting allows for more measured, thoughtful, and impactful responses. So the title itself reflects this wisdom. God sees the truth but waits, meaning that goodness, while it is clear and evident in its righteousness. So it is does not rush into actions but waits for the right time to make a lasting difference. This reflects Tolstoy's own spiritual and moral philosophy, where patience, nonviolence, and forbearance lead to true justice and peace, rather than quick or harsh retribution. The story is a call for introspection, suggesting that individuals should not be driven to immediate emotions, but rather act from a place of calm, wisdom, and long vision. So, this story really, if you watch this story, I will put the link, a YouTube link, so that you can see the movie or short video about this story. So the moral lesson of this is you should have a patience, because that patience can lead you to a positive side. You don't have to rush things, because that will lead to a wrong timing of time. Because I believe that right right timing yeah right timing will makes us positive. Yeah. So now let's proceed to the character of God sees the truth but waits. So the first character is Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov. He is the protagonist of the story, and then Aksionov's wife. Aksionov's wife warns her husband not go to Niziferia. Then Mikhail Semyonich, the villain of the story. So, and then the other character, the governor, the fellow merchant, and the official. So now let's proceed to the literary elements. So now let's proceed to the settings. So the settings are town of Vladimir, INN, Siberia, and jail or prison. So the plot are exposition. The exposition is Ivan Aksinov was a young merchant who lived in Vladimir. He was a wife named Vanya. He decided to sell their goods to earn money. So during summer, he decided to travel. So the rising action, when Ivan met a merchant and drank tea together, and later went to the same rooms as he decided to check in an INN. So the climax is Ivan found out that the merchant he met the night before has been found murdered, and the official accused him of killing him since there a knife with blood stain on it in his bag. So the following action is Ivan suspects Makar, one of the new prisoners, of killing the merchant. Later he found out that Makar is planning to break the prison through he did not tell the authorities. So the resolution is Makar realized his mistake. He confused of killing the merchant and putting the knife inside Ivan Aksinov's bag, and he asked him for. So next we have conflict. So the conflict are man versus man versus himself, man versus society, and man versus fate. So the point of view is third person point of view. The mood are sad and mysterious. The tone are serious, sad, suspicious, and hopeful. So that's, I think that is all for my report. So thank you for listening and have a great day.